General Medicaid warning. The views expressed in
5-ish
minute lore, the lore delivered in rants, are sanctioned by their scholar Progenium as excess-rageous. Prolonged exposure can result in loss of IQ, high blood pressure, random outbursts, and blunt force trauma to the skull, resulting in unconsciousness. Please consult your local physician for more information.
Overlord of Armageddon, Herman von Strab. The biggest waste of space since the arch-child abuser, who honestly would have been more useful if he had been broken down into corpse starch. Marvelous.
What the hell was that?
Volcanic eruption!
Sure.
May I present to you my spy in the Ministry of Defense? Fat bastard.
There are some people who make it a point to be the best at a given category, to make sure that their mark on a given theme is passed down throughout the ages and an example to strive towards. Herman von Strab is no exception to this, but while most people want to set a positive record, or at least a record that is impressive, von Strab makes sure his legacy is so unrelentingly grating to the nerves that forevermore his name will be used as a curse in common speech. So let's talk about this legendary fat asshole, shall we?
It looks to me like the best part of you ran down the crack of your mama's ass and ended up as a brown stain on the mattress!
Sergeant Slimslow was the fourth son of Luther von Strab, the planetary governor or overseer of the planet Armageddon, and was probably conceived through a stupendous amount of inbreeding alongside of a goat, with copious amounts of drugs and alcohol consumed during the pregnancy, with the mother participating in high-impact combat sports until she came to term. Immediately upon being born, the attendant Medicaid grabbed the infant wheat fix and flung him out of a window thinking he was the afterbirth, whereupon he landed in pigeon shit infested with bird flu, which promptly became his first meal. Note that the only thing we can prove is that he was the fourth son of Luther von Strab and the rest is hot garbage, but I'm using Occam's razor to explain why Thunder Thighs is the way that he is.
You're an emotional fucking cripple. Your soul is dog shit. Every single fucking thing about you is ugly.
Hive noble families are more toxic than a sewage dump 5 miles downstream from a chemical plant which resides right next to a homeless shelter with no porta-johns or indoor plumbing. Most of them on Armageddon have a method of promotion quite similar to the Black Templars, where murder is the key for advancement. But instead of having to worry about outside influences murdering you on a battlefield, you literally have to worry about Auntie May and Uncle Henry shanking you with a butter knife at Christmas dinner so Tiny Tim can get one up on your spot. Being the fourth son, Lardass's road to being the only one to inherit power came from his brothers murdering each other and ignoring him. A noble family where the internal politics were this cutthroat and this insane viewed him as being too inept to actually do anything other than eat Doritos and get fatter.
You're just the afterbirth, Eli.
No.
Slithered out on your mother's filth.
No.
They should have put you in a glass jar on the mantelpiece.
Well, he did eat Doritos and get fatter, and he actually schemed. His oldest brother was killed by a bomb that also killed 322 people at a dinner party that he set. His second brother was murdered in a hit and run. For the third brother, I will simply state the circumstances. His third brother was found in his room with more bolter holes than Swiss cheese, with the walking whale standing nearby with a smoking bolter in hand, who promptly proclaimed that his brother had killed himself. Hashtag, William didn't kill himself. Everyone just kind of went along with it because Hydroxyad was next in line for the throne. The Overlord now is in full grief mode because all the sons who could have replaced him who were worthwhile were dead, and now he was left with this chicken fried fuck. All hope seemed lost, which is why he apparently also committed suicide by a large amount of spider venom. How convenient!
You stand in the presence of Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, rightful heir to the Iron Throne, rightful Queen of the Andals and the First Men, protector of the Seven Kingdoms, the Mother of Dragons, the Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, the Unburnt, the Breaker of Chains.
You stand before Herman von Strab, first of his name, overseer of Armageddon Primary and Secundus, eater of Grox, pig and bear, devourer of Pringles, breaker of belts, and motherfucking fat ass! Now that Lieutenant Lardass was in command of literally the entire damn planet, he employed such great leadership strategies as eating himself into food comas, ignoring civilian problems, attempting to be the first Imperial citizen to have the blood type Alfredo, cracking down brutally on civilian protests, throwing parties to celebrate himself, and running terror campaigns against the civilian population. He was absolutely fearless, probably because it would take a direct hit from a fucking Baneblade primary cannon to damage enough of his bulk to actually hurt him. It was about this time he encountered the Old Man of Armageddon, Commissar Sebastian Yarick, who took one look at Jabba the Fuck and knew that anything reasonable said within his presence would have to be relayed throughout 20 pounds of fat on his ear to his Dairy Queen encrusted brain, and that trying to work with the Overseer was going to prove problematic at best.
Yes, I am here, Your Worshipfulness. Yes?
Korato Kamawalpa, Ayes Kachom, Kawawoki.
Then we come to the Second War of Armageddon. Literally everything and everyone competent and half the things that weren't were saying that shit was about to get real. There was every sign, outright, bad things were going to happen. Navigators were warning of massive warp storms. The statue of the Emperor in Hell's Reach began crying tears of blood. The Imperial Tarot kept on coming up with the same signs of doom over and over and over again. And every time Overseer Obesity ate chicken wings, the bones somehow hit the plate to spell out, "Pay attention, fat ass," every single time. And no matter how many extra he ate, the crumbs and the wing bones kept making exclamation points. For years, the Lord of the Fries kept ignoring every sign and signal, and the reason he didn't was because he wanted all the glory of defeating the impending doom himself. When a Space Hulk arrived in system, everyone was pointing at the fact that the outlying planets were in danger of getting an amazing amount of loud and belligerent visitors of the fungal persuasion, aka greenskins. We can only assume that the entire briefing was ended once Major Morbidity heard Fungus, thought about mushrooms, got sidetracked with mushrooms on pizza, and then ate himself into another food coma. Upon awakening, he had multiple messages waiting from Commissar Yarg demanding he send a distress call, but the only thing he did was literally issue salvage rights to noble families for the Space Hulk, as well as reporting the sighting of the Space Hulk itself, which was his minimum requirement. When the first orcs landed on the outlying planets, another communication went out, and when the Rotund one learned that it came from Yarg, he promptly had Yarg banished to an insignificant hive named Hades. Lord Commander Fatwa was utterly convinced he would be able to handle the newly emerged orc threat with a few regiments of Armageddon Steel Legion that were planetside, as well as PDF forces. He promptly ignored that the Hulk was accompanied by enough ships to destroy the Armageddon defense fleet and went to his favorite pastime to distract himself from the impending doom.
Ain't nobody can beat my Bobo at scary wrestling.
While he was in the middle of this, the Space Hulk, which had already disgorged enough orcs to overrun the rest of the planets in the system, crash-landed on the planet of Armageddon. Once he had proven victorious in the Great Sketty Wrestling Tournament, our fat-ass leader was informed that a warp storm had formed around the system, making communication with the Greater Imperium impossible. While the rest of the Imperium's forces on the planet were quickly realizing that something had gone impressively tits up rather fast, Fat Shady was countermanding orders to mobilize troops. So, let me just summarize the build-up to the Second War of Armageddon. Herman von Strab had months, if not years, of warnings that something was going to go wrong. He had months on top of that to prepare the hive cities of Armageddon for possible siege. There had been more than enough intelligence and clues to a major incursion that any rational human being would have latched onto to prevent the incoming disaster. But when the orc-infested Space Hulk crash-landed on the Armageddon, the Hive's food and ammunition stores were below standards, and its entire PDF force was in peacetime formation and deployment, meant to counter Hive gangs, and possibly roving bands of humans attacking caravans between the Hives. In short, the ineptitude of the leadership of Armageddon turned a war that should have been the Orcs' landing to only find heavily fortified and defended, supplied, and ready Hive cities into nothing more or less than a surprise attack that everyone saw coming but no one did anything about because he wouldn't allow it. Herman von Porkrind didn't even tell the orbital batteries to start firing on the Hulk. They just started doing so as the Hulk entered the atmosphere of the planet. All hail the planetary governor. What the fuck, man?
You're incapable of running this shit. Sit your $5 ass down before I make change.
At that point, from High Hades, the Old Man of Armageddon began issuing orders and essentially began to carve his legend from the towering spire of incompetence that was Herman von Strab. Commissar Yart began to issue commands to withdraw to the Hive cities and fortify them as much as possible, to which Herman the Thick began commanding troops to stand and fight against the Orc invaders. Entire segments of the PDF were wiped out trying to protect civilians who were attempting to reach the relative safety of the hives, including Lieutenant Hexer of the Steel Legion, who stayed behind to protect an entire refugee convoy. Despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary, Jabba the Gut stood strident in his belief that there was not nearly as many orcs as the reports were telling him.
Please disperse! Nothing to see here, please!
The sheer fact of the matter was there were more orcs on Armageddon as calories in his average meal, and that number was absolutely staggering. Over and over again, General Grievously Girthy would get on the Voxcaster and begin screaming for the PDF units in the field to stop running, turn, and fight. The few that actually listened to him were absolutely massacred, but fortunately most of the PDF commanders listened to von Straub as much as von Straub listened to anyone who told him that eating 2 pigs in one sitting was unhealthy.
Look, here's the thing.
Fine. Listen,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Despite all of that, almost a third of the defenders of the system were wiped out due to our fearless fat ass and his stupid decisions. Basically, it all came down to a question of, I'm supposed to do this, and this fat bastard is stupid. I'm listening to the Commissar. Quick count of what choosing the former meant. It meant you were either dead in days or crawling back to the hives desperately trying to escape the green tide. Admiral Snackbar chalked all his issues up to everyone not listening to him, even though anyone who did was either already dead or was currently dying horribly.
I get it. You don't believe me either.
No, it's not that.
Yes, it is. Nobody believes me. Nobody takes me serial.
But even he was able to see that he couldn't stick around where he was on Armageddon Prime. No. He found an aircraft that could carry his bulk and went to Hive Tartarus on Armageddon Secundus. When the orcs reached the equatorial jungle between Prime and Secundus, Chubbs Mackenzie had somehow not yet figured out that he was facing a literal deluge of orcs, and the incompetence on display was literally pissing on anyone who took their oaths to serve the Overlord seriously. Captain Carone was sent to stop the orcs from breaching through the jungle into Armageddon Secundus. The lardass actually told the captain to use the orcs as target practice. Well, they got practice alright. The jungle literally exploded with orcs, flying over the defenders and slaughtering them at the Diabolus River. Any who escaped this literal disaster were surrounded, and barely any made it out alive. Good going, fat ass! Another horrific example of this ham sandwich's leadership and command decisions comes in the form of the Iron Skull's Titan Legion, but I like them under their formal name, Legio Metallica. Under the command of Princeps Curtis Mannheim, the Titan Legion was based at Hive Tartarus. Governor Chunky, after moving to Tartarus and finding out about the disastrous Battle of the Jungle, instantly commanded Mannheim to take his Legio into battle against the orcs. He said this while at the same time telling Mannheim, who already knew better, that there weren't many orcs and it would be good practice. Mannheim wasn't stupid, but he was incredibly duty-bound. Mannheim made attempt after attempt to negotiate with the Great Greasy One, but Commander Corpulence not only didn't listen to the Legio commander, he actually waved the man's honor in his own face and beat him down with it. Mannheim had sworn himself to defend the planet and uphold the orders of the planetary governor. No matter who that planetary governor might be, Fuhrer Fat Rolls overrode every argument and reasonable complaint issued from Mannheim. Eventually he drew it to a point of honor, something which the waddling walrus knew very little about, but knew how much it meant to Mannheim. To most people the decision would be simple. Tell Sir Eats-a-Lot from the House Glutton to go fuck himself in the ass with a cactus until he died from it. But Mannheim was built differently. In the face of the unreasonable, in the face of losing the core of what made him who he was and everything he had built his name on, he only had one decision to make. He got in his best dressed uniform, kissed his wife and children goodbye, and took his entire Legio out into the field, completely unsupported. The Legio was engaged, surrounded, overwhelmed, and nearly destroyed. Mannheim went out like Rylanor, marching his dying Emperor-class Titan Steelhammer into the middle of the Orc horde and overloading its reactors, wiping out well over 1 million orcs in the process.
This is a new feeling. Pride in someone else. Unfortunately, it's overshadowed by all this unyielding rage!
Okay, so second status update for anyone having problems following this. Because of General grievously overweight, not only had a full third of the men and women of the PDF been outright murdered, he had just ordered a full Titan Legio to its death, which included an Emperor-class Titan. To give you guys an idea, I'm pretty sure the Mechanicus would rather have sacrificed the planet versus the Titan Legion that died on it. Titan Legions are insanely hard to make, requiring decades or even hundreds of years, and this victim of Dunlap syndrome had lost it in an afternoon. At this point, most of the hives were well under siege, soon to include the very hive that von Strab now called his home, Hive Tartarus. Anyone who was willing to listen to the overweight overlord was either dead, dying, or about to be such. Commissar Yarg led the defense of the planet now, despite all of his rantings and ravings. Frankly, no one gave a shit what the Hamburglar-in-Chief was saying anymore.
Were you born a fat, slimy scumbag, puke piece of shit, Private Pile? Or did you have to work on it?
Hive Tartarus was the only real place that had to pay attention to the Grummaner anymore, and yet another fine example of inbred reasoning fell into place. There was a reason besides the fact it was furthest away from the orcs that the great gut of Armageddon chose it. It was also due to the fact that Hive Tartarus was home to several hundred missiles that contained the Life Eater virus. Now, anyone with a functioning brain with at least 2 neurons firing would know that deploying the Life Eater virus on a planet you currently live on is so far past fucking stupid it beggars belief, but not our dear old friend Diabetes.
Diabetes.
The Life Eater virus isn't a bullet or a flamer, it isn't even a Titan. It's a planet-killing weapon only used in circumstances so past fucked it's stunning. This hog beast intended on using a weapon that usually wipes out entire planetary populations to defend a hive.
Stop it. Get some help.
It is only by the good graces of bad record keeping that the Lardvark didn't wipe out the entire planet, because the missiles hadn't been taken care of very well, and most of them failed. The virus itself had lost a huge portion of its potency due to the time in storage and bad maintenance, with a few bombs that landed on the Orc hordes besieging Tartarus inflicted insane casualties.
Oh my god!
Problem was that the wind shifted and carried that same virus back on the wind towards Hive Tartarus. We don't know how many died, but it was enough to where the Snorlax finally stopped doing things that were utterly stupid, for the time being.
And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House! Ah!
Okay, third status update. Wide Load had effectively left the entire planet open to a full military invasion by the Orcs, isolating massive numbers of its defenders in the open, despite months of warning. He then issued stand and fight orders that killed even more troops, and almost a full Titan Legion, including an Emperor-class Titan. The hives he was charged with protecting, which if properly prepared can hold out against the siege for months, were being overrun due to a lack of food and ammunition preparation as well as low manpower due to him getting a good chunk of the population of PDF killed. And the deep-fried dipshit had just deployed a weapon onto the surface of the planet that he lived on that was designed to destroy a planet's population, and only failed to do so because it hadn't been maintained properly. Is there any other reason anyone would like me to list why this guy is a total piece of shit?
But I'm not done yet!
When the Warp Storm ended and Commander Dante, Chapter Master of the Blood Angels, show up to relieve Commissar Yark, who was the only real reason the entire planet hadn't fallen to the Orcs, by the way, Dante immediately ordered a deep strike operation to save Hive Tartarus, and then promptly put the Hog Beast on house arrest after reviewing the decisions that led up to one of the most fortified planets in the Imperium nearly falling to the Orcs. Nicki Minaj countered the order of the house arrest, saying loudly and proudly that he had the entire situation well in hand and the Astartes were out of line. Dante replied by issuing a warrant for von Strab's arrest. For those of you who love the type of numbers that I put out, here's a list of the crimes that Dante accused him of.
This is why Mom doesn't fucking love you!
43,339 counts of incitement to violence.
Bruh.
38,174,639,274 counts of grievous murder.
Bruh.
22,398 counts of insurrection and treachery.
Bruh.
211 counts of unholy insubordination.
Bruh.
2,238 violations of imperial decree.
Bruh.
99 counts of evasion of duty.
Bruh.
39,492 counts of larceny.
Bruh.
883,204,294 counts of heresy.
Bruh.
3,994 counts of unlicensed invasion.
Bruh.
112,992 counts of dereliction of duty.
Bruh.
324,882 counts of unlawful impersonation of an officer.
Bruh.
33 counts of indecency.
Bruh.
23,391,349 counts of flagrant disregard.
Bruh.
3,927,371 counts of willful endangerment.
Bruh.
And 2 counts of improper dress.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Amazing! Even when it comes to his criminal charges, he went above and beyond, making them as big as possible. When the time came for the skin farm to be arrested, he had somehow escaped, commandeering a land speeder and riding off into the sunset, where everyone assumed that the orcs still living on the planet had done the Imperium a favor and murdered the fat bastard. But just like Herman von Strab's cholesterol, he couldn't be kept down.
I didn't hear no bell.
When Gazgul Mac Uruk Thraka returned for round 2, the Ham Planet returned with him. And when Hive Acheron failed to sabotage, the Salad Dodger appeared and claimed ownership of not only the Hive, but the planet in the name of his new best friend Gazgul. He instantly got on the Vox and yelled loudly and proudly that everyone should get some guns and rebel, and that the Imperium was bad. His speech, as well as everything else when it came to him having an idea, didn't have the intended effect. Everyone within earshot instantly went from zero to homicide, starting a civil war within the Hive where most of the nobility were doing their dead level best to kiss the ample ass cheeks of the returned overlord, not to get brained by the knobs Gazgul had sent alongside him, and the rest of the Hive trying to kill them all. Eventually, the notorious P.I.G. was forced down into the Underhive, where he was in the process of being possessed by a demon. I don't know. Slanesh wouldn't want him because, that's not hot. Zeus wouldn't want him because he's the Lord of Change and the Lardass was still the same size and mass of a small moon. Korn wouldn't want him because, well shit man, you figure it out. So the only thing I can think of is Nurgle, but even that might be too disgusting for him.
When I get out of here, I will be the greatest Chaos God ever. I'll fuck them all up. Just you wait, I will become relevant again.
Basically, I'm guessing the violence of the Warp Storms were in all actuality the Chaos Gods fighting over who actually had to claim von Strab as one of their own. Before anyone had to claim him, however, he was finally murdered by Lieutenant Cage of the Last Chancellor's Penal Legion, who yeeted himself and the Overlord into a lava pit. So ends the tale of Herman von Strab, a man described by Curtis Mannheim as the greatest waste of flesh and bone born within the past 500 years. Legend says that on nights where the acid rain fails to fall to the ground and the pollution thins enough that on Armageddon Secundus, one can see the stars. They can smell the wafting scent of bacon on the air and hear the sounds of Herman von Strab screaming.
No, Kitty, this is not Putt-Putt.
Can you hear it?
No, Kitty, it's not Putt-Putt.
Yeah.